before you say this. But you all are speaking from a perspective as being a sort of a in terms of grants. But I'm talking more or less trying to match your bottom line in terms of being profitable.
Right.
It's a little. Those two are they're business principles and ideas, and I understand that. But I would like for you to speak from a point of view where, at the end of the day, each one of you are trying to determine how much money you're going to make out of this project, which benefits your profitability or a loss for you at the end of the project, end of the year, end of the month, end of the quarter, however it may be. You all have multi partners that you deal with at the mall. You have subcontracting opportunities on some of your housing projects. You will have a $42 million project you're going to put around the mall in terms of retail development, banking development. How has all that, has that been going well for you all in terms of you collaborating with these contractors to make these projects? Do you have to deal with a lot of bureaucracy? I know you deal with personalities, but is there anything you can speak on those type of things that Ms. Hogan, you can interject?
Well, I think from a business standpoint, not just the grant, I mean, it's just in the basics. Even from a business standpoint and wanting to collaborate and the advantages, you have to know what everybody's going to bring to the table. As far as subcontracting for us and majority contracting, what we try to do, we think it's our, not just our fiscal responsibility, but our community responsibility to make sure that we have minority businesses involved. So what we do is we go out, we announce the project to them, we sit them down with the architect or the major contractor and say, this is the person that I'm giving this list to, you're at this meeting. They're responsible for calling you, but you have to have your ducks in a row. You have to understand what's going to be needed for this project. And if you don't understand, call us or call them. That's why we have this meeting for you. So the number one problem that we run into with our subcontractors or our African-American businesses, no follow-up. They don't follow up, and then when it's time to sit down at the table, they're not prepared. Or we're given paperwork or material that we have to constantly go back and say, you need to change this, did you read this, these are the specs that we need for that. So I think as for businesses, number one, understand that if you're going to go after dollars, don't bet the farm on it. Leave you some income flow. But understand, if you're going to do business, you're going to be expected to have some capital or money to put up front. And I think that's important. You have to know what your finances look like. And that's just, one of the issues that we have with collaborating and talking with firms. Mr. Liberty Bank is here. He can attest to that. For our project, we've even brought minority contractors to the bank and sat down and said, okay, we'll be responsible. Let's get them a line of credit. Or we've talked about bundling them to get them the insurance that they need. These are just the basic principle things that you need to know if you're going to go after major contracts, or just even minor contracts, just having your financial resources set up properly where you don't lose everything while trying to do business, because it puts you out of business, and then we haven't served our purpose, and then you fail.
So in trying to convey to the individuals that it is a business, it's not a social club, and they got to get that first understanding. And in order to stay in business, there must be a profit. You can't rely on just the grant money if you secure the grant, because it's going to run out. You got to make business. So you got to have what we call performance standards. You got some standards that must be set up front. Then you have to have some performance indicators, some things that will show that individual where they may be failing. If they go, just an example, if the business is going to open at 8 o'clock, you got to be open at 8 o'clock. You just, you got to do things in order to make a profit and not just think somebody's going to give you something at all times. Then you got to get the skills necessary in order that you can have bookkeeping, which is record keeping, as he stated already. All this has to be understood, that you have secured a grant maybe, or you've secured a loan, whatever, but it's got to be paid back. And so in order to pay it back, you're going to have to make a profit. You're going to have to make a profit. And in order to make a profit, you're going to have to be energized. And a lot of times people go away from what they see on TV and hear in the news and go away from the traditional thing. I always think of greater good, greater common good. My business is going to be doing something that I feel good about, so I'm going to be energized and I'm going to really do a good job in doing this. Like I can always think about Ben, who started his first lawn care business. You know, and all he wanted was enough money to get 2 Yazoo mowers. And after that, now he's in 26 counties. See, but he first started out with just 2 Yazoo mowers. Now he had 3 crews. But he fell into so much condition that he didn't realize that he couldn't get people that really wanted to work. They didn't want to work. They wanted to check, but they didn't want to work. So he finally, we showed him how he could train his relatives, and they started working for him.
Let me ask this.